Daniel Shaked joins me here today. You can learn what his team is up to. Head over to home365.co. Home365.co. I really appreciate your time, Daniel. And we got a revolutionary way of handling property management based on what I'm seeing here.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. Yeah, definitely we are a little bit different breed of property management solutions around the corner. You know, I'm thinking about this industry. It has a very challenging sentiment generated by real estate investors and residents, tenants for a reason. I mean, it's a hard job to do. There's a lot happening in property management. I'm a great believer that in order to deliver quality and scale and satisfaction, you have to leverage technology first. That's the unique IP that companies need to invest in. That's where we are focusing. We are building an automated property management platform to be much more efficient and fast versus the human property manager as we know them. Being a real estate investor is not passive. Like everyone thinks about real estate investing as a passive investment. It's everything but passive. There's so much happening. And we are trying to inject predictability. We're trying to inject passiveness into this process of holding a rental property. And we came up with a completely different business model. We're actually not charging property management fee. But what we are doing, we are underwriting the profit line of your P&L as a real estate investor. We are predicting various events around people, like potential delinquencies, vacancies, their trends, their frequencies. And the same thing, we as a data company, as a technology company, we are now in a place where we can say with great certainty, what's the probability for a garage door not to open for every 1,000 homes of certain type anywhere in the United States. And we came up with this model where we protect your profit line by actually charging you a flat rate, a monthly flat rate, and taking care of all the risks that you might have as an investor. We're basically taking on our back.
Could we start with the origin story here? Like, what light bulb moment or what happened in your life to cause you to seek this out or develop this?
I don't think it was like one moment. It was realization and understanding of the market. My passion is building marketplaces, is building transactional marketplaces. That's what I'm doing for the last 20 something years, mainly around homes and houses. At a certain point, I started to realize that the sentiment, as I previously mentioned, with property management companies is kind of complicated. Everyone wants to diversify their investments into real estate. It's the biggest asset class today, but there is a lot happening, especially for busy people wanting to invest in SFR. How do they manage it? Almost 50% of real estate investors in the US are not Americans. America attracts investors from all over the world, right? So if we are remote and we're busy people, I'm a doctor, I'm a developer at Google, whatever, I don't have the time for tenants and toilet stories. So how do we make it passive? And realizing that this space is actually very traditional, and I'm coming again from the tech background, I was looking for high lifetime values, meaning where people are holding stores of value for longer time, recurring revenues, that sentiment, not a lot of technology. And that was kind of a realization, especially after talking to many property managers who are struggling. And I figured out that something is really broken, not working with the current systems, with the way the business models are working today. And there is a place to change that. So it was like a very scientific approach to a problem that I was not familiar with 9 years ago when I started the company.
So could you kind of talk a little bit about what somebody would expect regarding this? Because this does sound like a pretty significant property management shakeup or kind of a new paradigm. And I think we better try to help people wrap their brains around this.
So look, I think that people, especially, look, we're focusing on SFR space. SFR is the biggest portion of the US real estate. And the problem with the SFRs is like every property is different. Every house is built different, size, age, whatever, roof, occupied by different people, managed by real estate investors or owned by real estate investors owning on average 1.5 to 2 properties. Some of them are accidental owners. So there's a lot of variation there. And there is also this thing of compliance. Like every county has different rules. Every state has different problems and regulations around it, licensing, etc. So all that creates a lot of hassle and stress on people who either decide not to invest in real estate and move their money to like S&P 500 or whatever other vehicles there are, or suffer quite a bit of inconsistency and volatility. We wanted to create a passive, almost like holding a 401k, okay? Passive investment vehicle where you, as a real estate investor, would just buy the property, but then invest and rest. Don't get involved. Passive, predictable financial vehicle to store value for your future, for your retirement, for your college fund, for your kids. How do you do that? You have to basically change the way people are dealing with it today from being active to passive. And this is where we invented an insurance-like product. It's not insurance by any means. There are a lot of different aspects to it, but I wanted to create a very similar experience where people would just buy a protection for that, call it something they cannot foresee as real estate investors. We would just smoothen the volatility of incidents. Think about an AC that goes down. It's almost $9,000 today. That eats up all your profits, all your cash flow, a couple $100 every month. So you are very exposed as a real estate investor. How do we smoothen that and create this type of predictability where the only thing that you care about is the cha-ching of your money into your bank every month? So let's sell you a product where you would basically buy into peace of mind. You will buy in predictability rather than active mode of investing. So if you subscribe to that, we would underwrite your property, would take your address, we would run all our algorithms. By the way, it's done online. It's done within 60 seconds. You just go to our website, you submit your address wherever we are operational, and we pull a lot of information from various external sources, but also from our internal sources, Jack. That means we are looking for similar houses, as close as possible similar to your one. And we're looking at the history of what happened there. And that type of similarity, it's a very complicated machine learning algorithm, which is constantly evolving, builds that predictability engine for us. So we would generate, eventually, would spit out a number. That number basically would be your expense line in your P&L. And aside of that, you have the income, which is protected, meaning if the tenant is not paying rent, delinquent, or the property sits vacant, we pay your rent instead. And if there's any repair of any kind, including turnovers, and when I say any kind, I mean wear and tear related, like not something that someone, intentionally broke, but things that used to work, not working anymore, might be anything, might be AC, garage doors, whatever, just imagine. We cover it on our own expense. So from your perspective, you bought a peace of mind product here, and you don't need to be involved in this day to day. I can tell you that right now, around 85% of our clients are choosing this product. We also sell the regular product, which is just a funnel into our premium plan. Eventually, when you get a push notification as a real estate investor saying, hey, your AC went down or there is something happening, please contribute your $5,000 to fix it. And then you see a message saying if you were under this plan, that would cost you zero. This is where people start to realize actually at the points of pain, the value of that product. So we're happy to share risk with you as an investor, okay? But the property needs to qualify first. It's not for very risky properties, but if it's a straightforward SFR, we would basically underwrite it and take the risk. I think it's the first product pretty much on the market today where a property management company actually shares an investment risk with real estate investors.
Yeah, this is very different from what I thought this was going to be. Like, when we say property management, I didn't expect the passive aspect of this where you're trying to ease everybody. Like, I'm dealing with a turnover on a property right now, and the numbers are climbing really quickly. I don't think people really, unless you're doing this on a regular basis, they don't understand the amount of money you might need in reserve to handle something like this.
Exactly. So eventually, look, I mean, we might be wrong on a certain property, but on average, when we manage a portfolio of a couple thousands of those properties, okay, we basically profit from the actuary models versus trying to make margins out of property management business. And by the way, I think the property management business by itself is the main reason why there is a bad sentiment with management companies. Like, I mean, people are good. They want to do good. I mean, management companies, their intentions are pure. Nobody wants to scam or do some mediocre work. But when you are getting paid $80 a month to look after your $500,000 store of value property, how much management do you think that management company can invest in looking after your property? It's like 2 or 3 hours of an Uber driver. How much management do you want that company to invest? So they need to come up with crazy ideas. They cut corners here and there. They have their own maintenance companies where they make the profits from. I mean, this entire thing is completely broken today. So if you want to deliver passive, predictable investment experience to high wealth individuals who are busy, who are not operators, right? They are not like constantly leaning forward with that investment. They just want to forget about it. Nobody wants to deal with tenants, actually. But they want to diversify into real estate. We need to deliver a different product. And this is where we need to make it super different than what's today. Part of our go-to-market strategy, Jack, is to acquire traditional management companies, their books of business. And I'm exposed, I would say, I mean, I've seen thousands of P&L statements. I rarely see a profitable company. If it's profitable, it means that the owner doesn't pull salary and maybe is looking for dividends at the end of the year, or they are making money from other avenues like maintenance company that they also own. So eventually that becomes like a maintenance business with management contracts rather than management company, you know?
Well, I was going to actually bring that up. That's typically what we've seen is property managers and real estate investors, our interests are typically not aligned.
Exactly.
And it makes it really difficult because, like you said, they're doing what they can to prop up their maintenance business or their cleaning business or whatever else that's going on. And without that type of an alignment, it makes it very difficult to be predictable.
But let me tell you something, Jack. Let's say you own a house, okay? A property. It's $500,000 property somewhere in US. It's a business. You own a business. You are selling a housing experience to tenants who are paying a recurring monthly rent to raise their family and build their memories. Okay. So as a business owner, you need to invest in this business. You need to make sure it's maintained, it's marketed properly, it's in a good status, etc. Supposing that you are not a slum landlord who's just trying to milk every dollar. Okay. And then you hire the cheapest manager you can find for 5%, 6%. It's like you're hiring your own CEO. You are a shareholder in the company and you hire the cheapest CEO you can find. And then you blame the entire problems of your investment strategies on that company. I'm not blaming management companies. I think by far, most of them trying to do good. But the current business model for you as an investor, for the numbers to work and for you to generate the 6, 7, 8% cap rate or whatever you can generate out of it, you need to squeeze on the salary of your most trusted person who is there to look after your store of value. It doesn't work. You want your business to grow. You want your business to strive. You want to build portfolios. I don't say hire the most expensive one, but I would hire the best manager I can find, and I would compensate them well for this thing so they don't look somewhere else and they could afford not the cheapest person they can find on staff as your property manager, getting ridiculous salaries, which I'm seeing on those P&Ls, but something else. I mean, the industry is not well aligned. So here we are not charging small amounts, but people are willing to pay for that passiveness. Just proves that as a real estate investor, you really want to pay for passiveness, for lack of volatility, for predictiveness. And that's perfect. And that's the beautiful thing. Everyone makes more, everyone is happy.
Just to remind everybody, we're talking to Daniel Shaked. And you could learn what his team is up to by heading over to home365.co. Home365.co. I'm going to have that as a clickable link in the show notes. The only way this show grows is by having you share it with another investor. So that would be greatly appreciated. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. So, Daniel, can we walk through a scenario? Let's say you brought up the air conditioner and it's going to cost $5,000 for this to occur. What would be the experience for somebody here when they're onboarded with your company? And maybe you even have an example, a real world example, like a story you can share.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you are subscribed to this plan, which is around 85% of our investors or property owners are subscribed to this one, you would actually might not even know about this thing. We have amazing owner portals, real-time portals, where everything is outlined. You can log in and watch the entire process all the way from what tenant reported, which is pretty unique as well. I'll be happy to expand how this entire thing works with pretty much hands-off process, eh, aligned with our technology approach. Eventually, you would get a notification saying there was an issue. You can log in, you can see that there is a very detailed bid, labor, materials, and everything, and it would say you pay zero. We picked up 5,000K. Enjoy life. Tell your friends. That's it. And if you didn't log into this thing or ignored this message, perfect. Next time you would look at your P&L statement, you would see under the expense line of repairs, AC replacement, you would see zero on your P&L instead of a number. When you click on it, it would expand to everything that happened, including all the timeline, everything that actually occurred, and would say you pay zero. So the experience is like, it's a wow moment for people. It's a huge wow moment for people, and this is where we're experiencing quite a bit of referrals to friends and others. It's different. It's unique. On technology level, what happens, we're also looking at the tenant experience as well. So maybe to illustrate, our app for tenants or the website is pretty unique as well. So basically, they launch it in a video mode, and they just shoot in a very intuitive way that AC, and we tell them, just tell the story. What's the problem? What's not working? Just very intuitively describe the issue. Our system behind the scenes basically breaks the images, the video, into thousands of images, correlate every keyword the tenant just said with the images and objects we find in the video. And the system understands with 99 point whatever percent that this is an AC issue. It's tricky. It's a lot of magic goes into this thing. And this video is streamed almost live to the right vendor who takes care of it. Now, this is where the vendor is actually onboarded live with the tenant over our chat system. They exchange information, they do video conferencing, they do scheduling. Everything happens there. We're actually not part of that process. At a certain point where we have the bid, the system approves the work for that vendor based on our data and statistics, and the owner is not charged anything. So this entire process is pretty much seamless, and it's based on quite a bit of unique machine learning algorithms and crunching of a lot of data around different trades, locations, price points, and etc. It's
You
just
know,
amazing.
as a property manager, we're kind of been focused on the maintenance aspect and if something goes wrong, but how does your platform collect rent, do some of the day-to-day activities like showing units, renting things out? How does that all piece work?
So the bidding heart of our platform is actually a marketplace operations. I mentioned at the beginning of our discussion or our talk that that's my background. We're basically intensively, I hate using this term, but Uberifying the property management experience. So we have an army of vendors. When I say vendors, those are real estate agents who are doing the showings. We just dispatch them a vacant property. We tell them, hey guys, here's a vacant property, rent ready. Do your magic to get it back to us within 14 days with a signed contract. And that's our standard for the tenant. We have photographers on this platform, eviction attorneys, plumbers, electricians, everyone. That's our IP. This is how we power today in 9 states, 16 different metros, all by pretty much 20 people from one location in Las Vegas. That's our operational hub is where. And we eventually have more feet on street, more eyes on your property than any local management company can afford with that $80 that you are paying them as an investor. Okay. So the marketplace operations, this is where we are very heavy on automating, building that type of process with our super talented team of engineers, which are based out of Tel Aviv, where I'm originally from. Our R&D center is located there. We're building all the possible experiences, like tenants are paying rents through the app. They are reporting maintenance events through video, chatting and coordinating the entire process with vendors at the time of their choosing through our scheduling tools within those apps. That's what we do. We obsessively automate every possible aspect of it to make it more scalable, faster, less errors, and to deliver happiness to both sides.
Mhm.
It's hard. Okay, it's not think world. It might.
Yeah, based on what you're saying there, it would seem like magic to most people. So
It's a lot
you
of
know,
hard work. A lot. It's a product folks trying to understand the reality with all the nuances and uniqueness of each and every type of incident. Like I mentioned Uber before. Uber is a simple marketplace. By the way, those are successful. DoorDash, Ubers. This is where the supply side of the marketplace, like drivers, are not really need to be skilled. You need to have a pulse and a driving license. You can drive people simply because the project is very simple. Take me from point A to point B now. That's it. And all of those projects are the same. Think about AC replacement, unplugging toilets. I mean, evictions. Every project is different. How do you automate something different like that? So it's a very hard lift from the product side, R&D side, and then bringing it to reality in real world where people, real users at the time of the stress need to use that.
well, we've been kind of skirting around the topic, but I'm sure people are going to wonder, like, how do you underwrite this? How much does this cost, or at least give us a comparison to a traditional property manager?
I'll talk averages because every property is different. It depends a lot on, it's hundreds of data points that we take into account, starting from obvious things like age of property, cost of labor in the area. Like if you are in Silicon Valley in California, the cost of labor and cost of rents are going to be completely different than elsewhere. Okay. So we crunch all that information. And on average, if we're looking at an average $1,300 to $1,500 rent, let's say, it might go with like 20, maybe percentage or a little bit more, depends, of rent. But again, those are crazy averages. And the real thing is how do you manage the exclusions and the IP of like the deviation of that Gauss, okay, curve. But eventually, on average, it would be reasonable to think around 20 to maybe 25% of rent. But then that means you have an NOI of 75%. It's higher than what a regular P&L would look like for an investor. He would be lucky if he has 60, 65% on average, not a specific year when nothing happened. But when you take like 3, 4, 5 years of activity, you would have that tenant that didn't pay rent. You would have that eviction. You would have to replace your AC at least once, and you will suffer a couple months of vacancies easy during that term. When you kind of take all those numbers into account, that's actually much cheaper than anything else, and you get a different passive product. I can tell you that we have quite a lot of properties where we are losing money like big time, but on average, it works. It simply works. It just requires a different stamina from the management company, different approach, and great, I would say, backers and investors first. We are venture backed to fund the machine learning processes and to generate that type of IP at first stage. I can tell you that when we started first, we started on the South Belt, on the Sun Belt states. And then in order to train our underwriting algorithm, we decided to go to Detroit to experience the different demography and potential risks around delinquencies. And then we decided to go to central Pennsylvania, where houses were built in the 1700s, 1800, to train our algorithm to underwrite old structures versus new structures in Vegas and Phoenix and those places. And that was a very costly experience. We're now fine there, but at the beginning, I mean, we were underwriting not correctly. Understatement.
That's just part of the whole process, right? You got to learn from your mistakes and adapt,
Right.
make those changes. When somebody hears the numbers and the percentages you're talking about, it is going to be higher than a standard property manager, but the value there is the ebbs and flows. I don't think people, they hear the property management, they get stuck on that, and they don't take into account, like, I'm turning a unit right now, the place was just absolutely destroyed, and I'm throwing out the stove, the refrigerator. I have to replace a bunch of flooring. You know, unless you prepare for those expenditures, it is painful.
It is painful, and especially new investors with all those TikTok gurus teaching them how to invest in real estate, they don't tell them that the CapEx, you need to reserve enough money for your CapEx. And it's not like whatever 2% for maintenance, there's a reality. And usually that reality hits you, and there will be tenant not paying your rent, and you will deal with squatters for sure. Depends where, but I mean, mostly. Those are not on your Excel when you do the perform, especially as non-experienced investor. When you factor in all the experiences you had over a course of a couple of years, 3 to 5 years, you will have this turnover, which will cost you $7,000 easy. Even more if previous tenant was evicted and there was some vandalism done and things around that. Eventually it's cheaper and it's much more passive. Just imagine, Jag, you would see on your turnover a zero amount. And it took 30
Yeah,
days,
well,
whatever, to list this property again, including the turnover.
yeah, I wouldn't be stressing out over a vacant unit because
You're not.
now it's going to be vacant until I get this. I'm trying to turn it as quickly as I can, but in the end, you can only do it so quickly because in this case, the place was absolutely destroyed.
Correct.
You got to refresh the entire unit.
Correct. So look, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty being a real estate investor. People forget about it because they read this Rich Dad, Poor Dad book and someone wrote there that it's passive. Okay? Not passive at all. It's like running any business. You will need to invest. You will need to manage your costs. You will need to manage the marketing of that thing. And you need to have a great manager who has skin in the game to do it right. If it takes us longer to do the turnover, it takes us longer to find a qualified tenant, we're actually paying for that out of our pocket. And then if we just brought in a wrong tenant and he becomes or she becomes delinquent the same day or month after, we are eating that inefficiency as well. This is the highest level of partnership between a real estate investor and a property management company. We're a property management company, yes, but you can't make money out of $80. It's insulting, in my view. Like, would you take an advice from a trusted advisor whom you pay only $80? But think
And
about
people
it.
do it all the time.
No, but yeah, but think of your lawyer, of your accountant. You are paying them hundreds of dollars an hour, and you value their advice because you know they're professionals, they know what they do, and they're there to protect you. Doesn't happen with property management for whatever reason. You trust me with your $500,000. I'm managing your money. I need to deliver your returns, right? I mean, otherwise you just sell it and go and invest in stocks, buy Bitcoin. Not a bad idea though, but still, I mean, do something else. Be liquid. You decided to diversify into real estate, and then you become the cheapest person you can, trying to optimize 5% versus 6% versus 8%. Just a couple $100s on average rent. That what creates this entire thing. Management companies are struggling. You are not happy as an investor, and it's a blame game. Why not change this entire thing? Real estate is a great store of value. Let's find a different business model that works.
Yeah. No, you're making some great points, Daniel. It's one of those things I've always found it peculiar. We will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a property, but we're also the same group of individuals where I see people, when they list it for sale, will take snapshots from their 10-year-old iPhone.
Sure.
I just will never understand that. But
Just think about it.
I see it
It's
all
not
the
a,
time.
yeah. Oh, it's not a property, it's a restaurant you just bought. Would you do the same for the restaurant? Never. Would you take snapshots of something that was served 10 years ago? I mean, by previous chef, and you have to buy it right, but then you have to run that restaurant the right way. It's the same thing. Rental property is a business. This is what some investors are failing. If there's something I would like, the universe to know, guys, when you decide to be an investor, you are not an investor. Bless you. You are actually business owner. It's a business. Have this business owner mindset. Invest in this property. If you want to milk it, you don't have money because you are leveraged to teeth. You don't have money to unclog a toilet. You will attract people of that type who don't care about unclogged toilets. And then what? You want to attract the right tenants, invest in your property, make real Excels. It's like a business plan. Make a real business plan, not super optimistic one, and then try to bend everyone to your numbers who are not realistic. There's a reality, and a meeting point between reality and your Excels and business plans. It's a painful point for many.
Well, Daniel, this has just been a fantastic conversation. But before I jump into that, is there anything else we should have tried to hit on here today?
I can talk forever. I think we touched the right things.
Okay. Well, we will jump into that. But before we do, again, it is Home365. You can learn more about what's going on there and see how Daniel's team can help you with managing your rental properties. But if you're ready, Daniel, we'll jump into the rapid fire and close out this episode.
Let's try.
What lie do real estate investors often tell themselves?
Oh, the cap rates and the expenses, of course. I mean, all those rules of thumb, the 1%, this percent, that's how much you need to allocate for CapEx. It's not connected to reality. Maybe they don't have the data, but they're trying to make their projections kind of connect to reality. Know your business. That's important.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow, that's look. I think I would have more education around financials, around legal aspects. Maybe taking that route as well, engineering and legal, because life is all about negotiations, maybe psychology. 99% of running a business is dealing with people. It's 100% of doing business is people, psychology, law, numbers.
Do you have a book recommendation?
Look, I read a couple of books, not related to real estate. Does it have to be? Okay, cool. So aside of the obvious, I'm very much interested lately in longevity. Like what's money and profits if you don't invest in your body and mind and all that. So there's an amazing book by Dr. Peter, if I recall the name correctly. It's a damn big book, but it's amazing. He analyzes every possible aspect of our health, strength, mind, everything, and how to prolong the quality of life, not just the years, but how to get there when we are stronger, when we are sharper, to enjoy our futures basically with our grandkids, etc. So I'm like very big now on that, and of course also on the reading a lot about Bitcoin and the new era of how money is working, how this thing is evolving. That's in my view is gonna be hand in hand with the AI revolution, gonna change everything we do.
What single strategy or tool have you implemented that has had the biggest time saving impact to you or your business?
A tool. I'm not sure it's a tool, but it's an engineering mindset where everything that happens, how do we automate it and make it a workflow for the future? How do we templatize it, test it manually, and then how do we automate it? Tools doesn't matter. I mean, you can use ChatGPTs or whatever you want. You might code your own solutions, but the mindset of trying to templatize each and every event in real life into a software solution is pretty much what I'm kind of trying to do. Like when I hear a problem, I'm seeing screens, I'm seeing buttons. It's like maybe a composer, hearing music. I'm seeing screens and buttons and messaging on those buttons. It's a mindset.
Yeah. I kind of have the same mentality on that. Before we try to even consider adding a head count, it's best to say, like, before I do this, is this something that I can automate?
Exactly.
Because it's something that should be in everybody's toolbox.
Exactly. That mindset of how to make it scalable, more efficient, not just solving the problem and then get another problem of the same type tomorrow. How do we create a system around it?
Well, Daniel, this was fantastic. One last time, it is home365.co, home365.co. I'm going to have that as a clickable link in the show notes. Really appreciate your time. This was great information, and I hope you'll consider coming back again sometime.
Sure. Thank you so much. It was my pleasure talking to you, and congratulations with so many chapters of that podcast.